there's a certain demographic of people out there that really truly don't care how their life is affected whatsoever at all. They could really care less about what's going on a global scale or what's going on in the world, because the world only consists of what they call their world, and they just happen to be that particular little sphere of influence. And anything outside of that, they could care less. And because they have adopted this type of attitude and they have these type of mind-numbing policies, that's why they're going to be affected. That's why they're feeling it now, and they're going to feel it even worse. It hasn't been talked about too much, but I have an article right here from the New York Times, and it's saying currency agreement for Japan and China. Now, I want y'all to listen. I call that land the land of the rising sun, because it's Asia. It's all those particular nations over there. Now, those of us who are in the know, we understand that this bankrupt country called America is supposed to have, allegedly, the #1 economy in the world. And then right behind it is China. And then right behind it is Japan. So you have #2 and #3 joining forces on a global scale. And let me read. Currency agreement for China. Currency agreement for Japan and China. Listen to this. Beijing. China and Japan have agreed to start direct trading of their currencies, officials announced during a visit here on Monday by Japan's Prime Minister, and I care not even try to pronounce his name. Japan also apply to buy Chinese bonds next year, allowing it to accumulate more renminbi in its foreign exchange reserves. The moves were among several that emerged from Mr. Noda's meeting with the President Hu Jintao, which focused on how the two nations could work together to maintain peace on the Korean Peninsula. China is the world's second largest economy, while Japan is the third largest. And the currency agreement is part of the move away from using dollars. So you see, you people here in America need to wake up. There's a big old world out there besides this propagandized, controlled news media who could constantly keep you in a box and try to make you to think that the world consists only of you. No, you better wake up. We got the second and third largest economy in the world joining forces, and they are now refusing to trade in dollars. They're moving away from them. Chinese officials have said recently they would like to broaden the global use of the renminbi, also known as the yuan, and want to see more countries move away from relying on dollars as a worldwide currency. They hold the world's largest foreign current reserves. You hear that? Currency reserves. China has about 3.2 trillion, while Japan holds 1.3 trillion. And they're holding dollars. That's how much debt that they have of the United States of America. Any moves to reconstitute the makeup of those holdings could change the global currency map. Chinese officials have made it clear that they believe the international economy is too heavily dominated by the dollar. See, China's starting to flex their muscles. Said Charles A. Chuck Chan, a professor of the international affairs at Georgetown University and a senior fellow at the Council on Foreign Relations. Now, don't impugn my character just because I can't pronounce some of these crazy names. They believe, as part of China's rise, that the international system should move toward a more balanced structure. And they're telling you that it's highly unbalanced. And when America can't do nothing but make a plea, that's all they can really do. We're bankrupt, we're insolvent as a country, our influence and the weight that we try to do around the world, it ain't going to happen no more. I mean, after all, isn't that the reason why we went into Iraq? Is because Saddam Hussein was going to start trading out of dollars for the oil, the crude oil that they have. Now we got Japan and China, and they're flat out letting America and all these other European countries know what they're getting ready to do. Why come we're not over there trying to bomb the hell out of their country? I'll tell you why. Because they fight back. Because the renminbi is not fully convertible. However, it will not compete soon as a global reserve currency, he says. Still, the agreement could be a baby step in that direction. Anyway, experts in the global trade said China and Japan had both practical and political moves for the pact. Neither side has announced a timetable agreeing on that. Officials will discuss possible measures. Given the proximity of China and Japan, along with the likelihood of the two countries will serve as each other's biggest trading partners over the next century, it makes sense for them to trade directly without using dollars. Y'all see what's going on? Let me paint this picture for you. There's a big world out there, and the United States of America is going to become, like I told you 15 years ago, a third world country. And we're going to quickly be losing our influence. And it would be wise of those of you who have little bitty children to maybe start trying to teach them how to speak Mandarin so they can be able to compete in this next global currency, in this next global rulership that's coming up, because it definitely ain't going to be us. Let me go on down here a little bit. And the more China loosens its grip on the renminbi, helping it to correct by somewhat measures is a currency undervalued by almost 40% against the dollar and 45% against the yen, the greater its purchasing power will become, allowing it to import more. This is especially important for Japan, which has been reeling as the dollar has weakened. That's because, you know, all this junk and garbage that they're selling us, when the Americans are losing their jobs, whatever jobs they had, because, you know, their country has sold them down the tube through all these ABC alphabet soups called GAFTA, CAFTA, NAFTA, which was implemented and brought in under Clinton. You people got to understand, these so-called presidents that's been elected, or so-called elected officials here in America, these are global Ponzi men. These are global cronies. They could care less about the United States of America. The United States of America is nothing but a figment of your imagination, and they're letting you know, look at our court systems. They're jacked by the corporation. Look at our government. They don't control nothing. Look at the president. He ain't nothing but just a puppet on the string for the Illuminati and the Rothschilds. I mean, you can't make this stuff up, but you do have to be blind in one eye and can't see out another to not clearly see what's going on. Let me skip on down a little bit more in this article right here. In the shorter term, the agreement is likely to lead to continual weakening of the dollar against the renminbi. That should help the United States trade deficit with China, he said, increasing American imports while weakening imports from China. On the other hand, he said that the currency agreement is likely to diminish the dominance of the dollar on a global trade. Yeah, it is. It's definitely going to weaken. It's going to continue to keep diminishing. That's the reason why you're going to be seeing Obama ask for another $1.2 trillion. Because, you see, government doesn't produce anything. They only take. And the only way government can function is if they continue to keep raising taxes and taking money and revenue out of the pockets of the American citizens. And that's the only thing they have. Now, when the American citizens are no longer paying taxes because there's no jobs, when they're no longer making any money because there are no jobs, then the government has to create money out of thin air, and the rest of the world is not trusting in the good old benevolent word of the United States of America when they sit and watch our war policies and going around committing genocide on sovereign nations. We go in under the guise and stuff like we're interested in protecting our citizens. And I've always asked the question, who in the hell is going to protect us from our own government? They're beating the hell out of the protesters. Look at the Americans and stuff. You think you free? Look what's happening. You getting jacked. You getting arrested. In this country, all you have to do is be a millionaire or billionaire in with the Glee Club, the Crony Club, and you can steal money, and it can vanish out of thin air, and you can get in front of our so-called elected officials, the Senate, and they will put a name tag in front of you and call you the Honorable John Corzine. Why, you're nothing but a thief and a robber. But then you can get in your vehicle, you can drive down the road and go 5 miles an hour over the speed limit, and you'll have every damn state trooper on your rear end with 3 or 4 other cars with guns drawn, and they're with nightsticks in hand ready to beat the living hell out of you just because you went 5 miles over the speed limit. And don't you dare get up there and mention the word Constitution in them so-called court systems, because they'll hold you in contempt of court and throw you in the lowest part of the jail, if not Guantanamo Bay itself. I mean, after all, our president on vacation. On vacation. so-called has reservations, but on vacation. You know what he did, right? He just got finished signing into law the National Defense Authorization Act. Ain't nothing defending about it at all. This is the National Offense Authorization Act because it is offensive to all Americans. And that is the truth. And that is the truth straightway. You know, I don't know how long you can continue to keep reporting on the facts and people still stay down in this dumb stupor that we seem to be in. You know what the problem with Americans is? The problem with us is that we love our life of ease and we love our plush lifestyle so much that we will clutch it with everything we got. We will put up and tolerate with everything we can, as much as we can, and we'll try to hold on to this so-called American dream, which is becoming a nightmare very, very quickly. We'll hold on to it in hopes that it'll change. Well, you know, William Wallace and Braveheart tried that mess too and found out it didn't work. It didn't work at all. And you know what? It ain't gonna work now either. We're bankrupt. We're insolvent. We're done as a country. There ain't no country called America. We have been sold out. Most of the people have opted in and they're choosing sides right now. My question is, whose side you on?